Our next story takes us to the forefront of aviation innovation as Airbus, the leading aircraft manufacturer, makes strides in testing groundbreaking wing technology.
We have a slow start in the show, but I think it will be a good show. As you rightly said, plenty of uncertainties and difficulties, but also some mega trends, more and more people traveling, very strong demand for air travel, and therefore a lot of activity for our industry.
They came for jets, they left with doubt. The 2025 Paris Air Show, long considered the Super Bowl of global aerospace, delivered a result no one could ignore. Airbus won everything. Boeing won nothing. In front of the world's cameras, airlines inked $21 billion in new Airbus contracts, 780 aircraft. Boeing, the American giant, once synonymous with flight itself, walked away without a single major deal. The silence was louder than any announcement. For the first time in a generation, Boeing was not in the race. And what happened in Paris wasn't an outlier, it was confirmation. The aviation world is leaving Boeing behind. XLR in Japan. As part of the deal from ANA, which has ordered quite a few aircraft from Airbus, and I think 3 of those will be the A321 XLR for their budget, or their low-fare airline to Peach, Aviation. Before we continue, hit that like button to help us beat the YouTube algorithm and to show your support. The numbers are staggering. Deutsche Bank now projects Boeing could lose up to 62% of the global narrow-body jet market. That's not erosion, that's collapse. And in a category Boeing once ruled with an iron grip, it is now bleeding ground to Airbus's A320 new and a 321 XLR aircraft that are lighter, cleaner, and crucially delivered on time. But it is not just about orders, it is about something far more dangerous, a loss of trust. The turning point came in tragedy. Between 2018 and 2019 too. Boeing's 737 MAX aircraft crashed Lion Air Flight 610 and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, killing 346 people. The cause was traced to a flawed MCAS flight control system that Boeing had failed to properly disclose. Pilots weren't trained on it. Manuals barely mentioned it. The result: mass casualty, mass grounding, and a global aviation crisis that lasted 19 months. Boeing was forced to halt deliveries. Airlines parked planes. Regulators stripped certifications. But what shattered the company wasn't just software. It was silence. Internal memos revealed a company more focused on pushing deliveries than building safety, more interested in Wall Street than cockpit clarity, and the damage didn't stop there. Since those disasters, Boeing's problems have metastasized. The 787 Dreamliner, its crown jewel widebody, has been repeatedly grounded over structural defects, door plug issues, and misaligned panels. Production stoppages dragged on for months. Meanwhile, its long-haul savior, the 777X, has missed every key milestone, pushing deliveries beyond 2027 and bleeding customer confidence along the way. Even the much-hyped 737 MAX 10, Boeing's answer to Airbus's A321 XLR, remains uncertified and unable to fly the routes airlines need it to. Worse still, it can't match Airbus's range or carbon efficiency. And that's where Boeing's collapse moves from corporate to existential. Because this decade's aviation game isn't about glamour, it's about compliance, it's about emissions, caps, carbon credits, net zero goals. This is no longer about who builds the fastest plane, it's about who builds the cleanest one. And Airbus didn't just read that playbook, they wrote it. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button to show your support to the channel. The Airbus A321 XLR is a narrow-body jet that flies like a wide body. With a range of nearly 4,700 nautical miles and 30% lower fuel burn per seat, it has become the most in-demand aircraft of the decade. Over 500 orders have poured in from carriers like American JetBlue, Indigo, and Qantas. The economics are brutal. Fewer refueling stops, lower carbon taxes, and smoother entry into the emissions-regulated skies of Europe and Asia. The A350 Airbus's flagship long-haul may be Boeing's worst nightmare. Built from 53% carbon fiber composites, the A350 is lighter, stronger, and more fuel-efficient than anything Boeing can currently produce. Its Rolls-Royce Trent XWB engines are SAF certified and designed for future fuel evolution. In an industry where compliance penalties are now tied to carbon performance, these planes are not just better, they are essential. Meanwhile, Boeing is still scrambling. The MAX 10 has yet to be certified. The 777X has been pushed to the late 2020s. The 787 Dreamliner, still plagued with inspections and quality flags, is delivering 2 to 4 quarters behind schedule. The world isn't waiting. Let's talk production. As of May 31, 2025, Airbus had delivered 243 aircraft, Boeing just 220. This would be manageable if Boeing had the momentum. It doesn't. Airbus is expanding aggressively in Toulouse, Hamburg, and even Mobile, Alabama. Boeing, it's untangling supply chain chaos, battling with the FAA, and fielding lawsuits from whistleblowers. This isn't just corporate drama, it's industrial decline. One Lufthansa executive put it plainly in Handel's Blatt. "We don't just need planes, we need reliability. Right now, Airbus gives us both." That quote alone could be Boeing's obituary. Loyalty is disappearing fast. Emirates Long, a Boeing loyalist, and the face of the 777 program, is slashing its 777X orders and pivoting to Airbus's A350, and A380 Turkish Airlines is following suit. Air India, once up for grabs, has planted its flag in Airbus territory with a massive mixed fleet order. Even KLM, the Dutch national carrier once intertwined with Boeing, is switching. Their long-term fleet now centers around the A320neo and A350. The message couldn't be clearer. It's not about history, it's about now. Let's talk compliance under the EU's emissions trading system. Airlines operating older, dirtier aircraft face hefty taxes and slot limitations. That's why the A321XLR and A350 are flying off the shelves. Their carbon profiles are not just green, they are financially beneficial. Meanwhile, Boeing aircraft lag behind in emissions efficiency, and with SAF mandates tightening, carriers are placing their bets on the airframe that hits climate benchmarks today, not one that might hit them by 2032, and that brings us to Boeing's fatal flaw timing. In 2025, being good enough later is not good enough now. Qantas knew that when it selected Airbus for Project Sunrise, its bold plan for ultra-long haul routes like Sydney to London and Brisbane to New York. These routes demand aircraft that can fly farther, burn less, and carry the flag of environmental responsibility. Boeing couldn't deliver. Airbus could. Let's not forget the most recent embarrassment at the Paris Air Show. Boeing CEO David Calhoun stood under a banner reading, "Committed to Innovation," but Boeing brought no major contracts, no breakthrough announcements, no next-gen unveiling. Airbus, on the other hand, walked away with $21 billion in deals. It was a one-player game. Airlines don't care about slogans, they care about planes, and Airbus is the only one building the kind they want. Even American carriers are hedging. Delta is splitting orders, JetBlue is Airbus Heavy United once Boeing's most visible US customer is quietly balancing its fleet. Why? Because no one wants to be caught short when compliance rules tighten and delivery schedules slip. They're buying insurance and Airbus is writing the policy. But the Boeing collapse isn't just about aircraft, it's about perception. A 2024 survey found that over 40% of passengers now check aircraft type before booking. Among those, nearly 60% prefer to avoid the Boeing 737 MAX. That's not a niche concern, that's a consumer revolt, and Boeing's internal culture is not helping. Whistleblower. Complaints have skyrocketed. Employees are reporting pressure to ignore quality flags, meet unrealistic delivery targets, and sidestep proper inspections. FAA regulators have increased surprise audits. European regulators are demanding their own certifications. Boeing is not just under scrutiny, it's under suspicion. Even in moments of triumph, the shadow lingers. In June, a brand new Boeing 737 delivered to a U.S. regional carrier suffered a major hydraulic failure on its third flight. It didn't crash. No one died, but the headlines wrote themselves, "Another Boeing jet under investigation." This is what brand erosion looks like. Not a single disaster, but death by 1,000 small doubts. And in an industry where one bad rivet can ground an airline, doubt is lethal. Meanwhile, Airbus keeps building smarter, faster, cleaner. Its supply chain is not just global, it's resilient titanium from Kazakhstan, composites from Germany and Spain, avionics from Japan and France, all outside the US-China tariff storm, all delivered on time, all feeding production lines that are running ahead of schedule. This is not luck, this is design. The result, while Boeing scrambles to deliver, Airbus is already integrating new SRF systems, hydrogen-ready components, and digital maintenance infrastructure. The aircraft arriving today from Toulouse are already future-proofed for 2030 regulations. Let's talk legacy Boeing once defined, modern aviation, the 747, the 777, the Dreamliner. These were icons, but history doesn't fly planes. Today's airlines are betting on carbon metrics, schedule integrity, and compliance support. They are choosing Airbus, not just for the aircraft, but for the ecosystem. That's why Airbus isn't just gaining ground, it's taking territory. Boeing may still wear the crown in American media, but in airline boardrooms it's Airbus that commands the throne. This is not a preference shift, it is a paradigm change. And unless Boeing overhauls its culture, rebuilds its credibility, and reinvents its aircraft fast, it won't just lose market share, it will lose the sky.